Gano Jobit from Haymarket. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 27th of August, 2026. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. Monday the 24th, prosecutors filed a new bribery charge against former Prime Minister Gharibashvili, who's already serving a sentence on separate money laundering charges. The new charge carries 11 to 15 years and stems from a Defense Ministry procurement deal where companies linked to him allegedly overcharged the state for medical equipment. Days before new charges were brought, Gharibashvili said that in July, Mamuka Mdinaradze, a prominent member of the ruling party, sent him a letter saying the party still saw a small risk of him returning to politics and that securing against it required him to accept and plead guilty to a new corruption charge. In exchange, his time in prison would not be extended. Gharibashvili refused and decided to fight the case in court as well as communicate his grievances to the public through letters. On Wednesday the 19th, the family of Tamar Batchaliashvili filed a new request with the prosecutor's office to reopen her case 6 years after she died or was killed. Batchaliashvili, a programmer, disappeared in July 2020, was found dead 5 days later in her car. Prosecutors officially closed the case in December 2020, ruling her death a suicide. Her mother, Teona Tamazishvili, rejected that finding entirely and believes her daughter was killed because of what she knew about fraudulent call centers her daughter worked at. She named several jailed former officials, including State Security Chief Grigo Liluashvili and Irakli Gharibashvili, claiming they have information about the case. She also accused the chief prosecutor of covering up for them. On Friday, prosecutor's office rejected her request, saying there is no legal basis to reopen it. On Thursday, the 20th, Radio Free Europe published an investigation into former Prime Minister Nika Ghilauri's troubles with the ruling party. Ghilauri served as Prime Minister from 2009 to 2012 under the previous government, then stayed out of politics for over a decade until 2024, when he donated roughly $4 million to the opposition party Coalition for Change. Around that time, an old business dispute against him suddenly got sped up, and by early 2025, court ordered him to personally pay over $12 million. Authorities also froze his protest support fund on sabotage charges. In July, authorities auctioned off his only registered property in Georgia. So far, Ghilauri has declined to comment or speak publicly on the matter. On Monday the 24th, Ekaterina Kvedelidze, wife of Georgian Dream or Kotsebi party founder Bidzina Ivanishvili, officially took ownership of 8 major Georgian companies. The businesses include Galeria Tbilisi and Axis Towers, 2 of the most recognizable buildings in the capital. Kvedelidze already owned these companies before, but through a complicated chain involving offshore companies in the Cayman Islands. Now she owns them directly with no offshore companies in between. This move takes advantage of a law passed back in 2024, letting people skip paying taxes if they move their money and assets from abroad into Georgia. Corruption researcher Irakli Abesadze thinks there's another reason too. The Cayman Islands fall under British control. UK has already placed sanctions on other people connected to the regime. He believes the family is trying to get ahead of the possibility that Ivanishvili could be sanctioned next. Saturday the 15th, authorities found 21-year-old Dmitry Menyaev, a Chechen trans man, dead inside an apartment in Batumi after neighbors called police over a strong odor suggesting he had been dead for some time before anyone found him. His brother, Kuzma Yakimets, believes Menyaev was murdered, possibly because of his gender identity. He says the apartment was unusually messy, which he takes as evidence someone else was there. Yakimets last spoke to his brother on August 1st and said there were no signs of distress. A lawyer for the family says an initial exam found no signs of violence, but decomposition may complicate determining the actual cause of death. On Thursday, the 20th, historian Becca Kobachidze posted on Facebook that Georgia's government had effectively shut down the Georgian Studies program at Harvard by cutting its funding. The program ran from 2023 to 2026 at Harvard's Davis Center and was the only dedicated Georgia-focused program in any U.S. university. Kobachidze says the government pulled funding because program director Stephen Jones refused to act as a propagandist for the ruling party and previously criticized the controversial foreign agents law. The Education Ministry denies this, saying in typical Soviet fashion that Harvard simply never submitted a required plan for the program's next stage. On Monday the 24th and Tuesday the 25th, 4 separate events led part of Georgia's opposition to claim the ruling party is softening its stance on Ukraine. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze congratulated Ukraine on its Independence Day by video. Georgia's First Lady addressed a summit in Kyiv for the first time since it began in 2021. Tbilisi's TV tower lit up in Ukraine's colors, and Georgia joined over 50 UN member states calling on Russia to accept an immediate ceasefire. Opposition figures from Lelo and the United National Movement, or Natsebi, say this shows the regime backpedaling now that Russia's war efforts look weaker than expected. The ruling party denies any shift, saying Georgia has always backed Ukraine. On Sunday the 23rd, Georgia's Interior Ministry paid 146,000 lari, which is about $54,000 to renew a license for a Russian voice analysis system used to identify speakers and analyze wiretap recordings. The manufacturer's Speech Technology Center was built on Soviet-era KGB surveillance research and is sanctioned by the US, UK, and EU for supplying voice and facial recognition technology to Russia's security services and military. Despite the sanctions, Georgian police have spent over 500,000 lari, roughly $185,000, on this same program since 2023, and the ministry says it's now looking into Western alternatives. Speaking of Russia, on Friday the 21st, a Moscow court ordered the arrest in absentia of Nikolai Levshitz, a Russian blogger based in Georgia, on charges of spreading fake news about the Russian army. He faces 5 to 10 years in prison if extradited. Levshitz moved to Georgia in 2019, runs a popular Telegram channel for Russians in Georgia, and has taken part in anti-war rallies since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia already labeled him a foreign agent in 2025 and an extremist this July. This follows a similar move earlier in August when Russia branded a Russian anti-war group based in Batumi an undesirable organization, exposing its members to possible criminal charges back in Russia. On Monday the 24th, OC Media reported that Tbilisi City Hall issued 4 separate fines to Smart Solutions, a contractor renovating Rustaveli Avenue, for failing to maintain round-the-clock construction work. Opposition Lelo Party member Nika Cherkezishvili labeled the total fine of 5,000 lari, which is about $1,900, hilariously low for a 20 million lari, which is around $8 million project. Rustaveli Avenue serves as the capital's central artery, acting as a key hub for commerce, tourism, and home of the Parliament building, making it a historic site for mass protest. Opposition figures criticized the project, saying that the tender was poorly organized, won without competition, and that the closed roads are causing significant problems for everybody. On Tuesday the 25th, 8-year-old Georgian migrant Maxim Kakhidze made headlines across Georgia after speaking alongside New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani at an official press conference. The event marked the reopening of McKinley Park's playground in Brooklyn following a $5 million renovation project that stayed closed for nearly 2 years. Maxime landed a spot on the podium after posting a video directly asking the mayor to reopen the park for local kids 2 months earlier. NYC Parks acknowledged his viral plea and invited him to speak as the playground officially opened. Link to the video in the show notes. An OC Media feature by Lana Kochaya titled Inheriting a Home, a New Generation of IDPs Reflect on Abkhazia, explores children and grandchildren of people displaced from Abkhazia, how they relate to a homeland they've never actually seen. More than 200,000 people, mostly ethnic Georgians, fled Abkhazia during the 92-93 war, and the piece follows 3 of their descendants, each carrying an inheritance differently, from painful family memory to lifelong longing to actual lived experience cut short by politics. Their stories raise a quiet question that runs through the whole piece. What does it mean to inherit a home you've never seen? Link to the English language article in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us, email us at info@rorschach.com. Nach